Act. That's a law that allowed a one-year window for people to file civil lawsuits over incidents that would normally be outside the statute of limitations. A Florida woman filed a claim in November against the mayor, but the details of that complaint have only come out recently. She and Adams both previously worked in the Transit Bureau of the NYPD, and she says that in 1993, Adams asked her for oral sex in a car. She says that when she refused, he forced her to touch his genitals. Like the lawsuit against Pearson, the lawsuit accuses Adams of offering to help the accuser get a promotion. Now, we should point out the mayor has vehemently denied these claims, and he said he does not recall knowing the accuser. But the lawsuit will cast a cloud over the mayor at a time when he's facing multiple campaign finance investigations and also showing signs of growing unpopularity with New Yorkers.
WNYC's Elizabeth Kim. Liz, thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Marketplace Morning Report is coming up next, and then in 10 minutes at 9 o'clock, it's the BBC NewsHour on WNYC. Let's check in with London to see what they're working on. London, good morning.
Good morning, WNYC. I'm James Menendez. Today on NewsHour, a major bridge has collapsed in Baltimore after it was hit by a ship in the middle of the night. We'll have the latest from the scene. Also, how climate change could spell the end of the British pint of beer. That's BBC NewsHour at 9 on WNYC.
43 with clouds out there right now. Mostly cloudy today and a high of 48. We have a chance of drizzle or light rain after 9 o'clock tonight, then some fog and a low around 43. Tomorrow, a chance of drizzle, light rain, mainly after 3. Fog, cloudy, and high in the mid-50s. It's WNYC at 8:51.
WNYC supporters include the Public Theater presenting the world premiere of The Ally. This new play, directed by Lila Norgebauer and written by Itamar Moses, has been extended through April 7th only. More at publictheater.org.
We have some numbers on the bridge that collapsed in Baltimore, cutting off a major highway and likely to disrupt shipping at a major port in America.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Schwab, helping people invest in ideas they believe in with Schwab investing themes, with more than 40 themes to choose from. More at schwab.com. And by Palo Alto Networks. Palo Alto Networks delivers what's next in cybersecurity innovation to protect today's digital way of life. Learn more at paloaltonetworks.com.
I'm David Brancaccio in New York. The governor of Maryland has declared a state of emergency after a major highway bridge in Baltimore collapsed overnight into the main shipping route in and out of the port of Baltimore. The Francis Scott Key Bridge, carrying a section of the Baltimore Beltway, has been destroyed. Authorities have confirmed 2 people have been pulled from the water and that a search and rescue operation is still underway. The Port of Baltimore is the top port of entry for imported cars in America, and it's not clear if the channel is passable to cargo ships. The port is a major economic engine in the region, generating $400 million in tax revenue to local, county, and state government. The bridge, part of Interstate 695, carried on average 1,400 vehicles each hour, 12 million a year. Shares of former president and presumptive Republican nominee Donald Trump's social media company start trading on the NASDAQ later this morning under the ticker symbol DJT. Initial public offerings can often bounce up on their inaugural day, which would boost Trump's wealth. On paper, he can't sell the stock right away. Marketplace's Henry Epp reports.
The listing is the result of a merger with a shell company whose shares have bounced around a lot for the last few years, but started soaring as the merger with Trump Media became official. That rising price, though, is based mostly on the former president's celebrity and reputation rather than on any solid business fundamentals. Trump Media reportedly took in just over $3 million in revenue through the first 9 months of last year and lost $49 million in that time. But interest in the stock from retail investors has boosted the company's value into the billions, which also boosts Trump's wealth because he owns around 60% of the company's stock. However, his shares are likely to be locked up for months, meaning unless the company's board changes its rules, he can't immediately sell them to pay off his mounting legal bills, and their value could change depending on the whims of the market. I'm Henry Epp for Marketplace.
Dow futures are up 0.1%. S&P futures are up 0.2%. NASDAQ up 0.3%. Now to whose voices are included in official surveys of the U.S. economy. Many government reports exclude data on American Indian and Alaska Native people, even though the data exists. This includes a Federal Reserve annual report called the Survey of Household Economics and Decision-Making, acronym SHED. But a new analysis from the Minneapolis Fed's Center for Indian Country Development works to fill the gap. Here's Marketplace's Savannah Marr.
The Fed says random sampling in the SHED survey doesn't capture enough Native respondents to compare to other groups. So the Center for Indian Country Development pooled 9 years of unpublished SHED data and found
Native identifying households are less likely to report doing at least okay financially.
Data Director Vanessa Palmer says they're a third less likely than other households to say they have the cash to cover a $400 emergency bill. But that unburied data has limitations, says Robert Maxim with the Brookings Institution.
Over 60% of American Indians, Alaska Native, are multiracial.
That means that in many federal surveys, Maxim says Native respondents are getting lost in the 2 or more races category. So when it comes to Native consumers and tribal economies,
you don't have the full picture of what that looks like.
Maxim says the government could get more clarity by oversampling Native people and empowering tribal nations to gather their own economic data. I'm Savannah Marr for Marketplace.
Marketplace Morning Report is supported by Progressive Insurance, providing direct car insurance rates side by side with other insurance carriers. Customers can see rates and find an option that works for their needs. Now that's Progressive. Learn more at progressive.com. And by UKG. UKG is a partner that delivers HR, pay, time, and culture solutions designed to help build a great workplace for everyone. UKG, our purpose is people. And by Disney, announcing that Disney will host its annual meeting of shareholders on April 3rd with the Board of Directors election. Learn more about voting at votedisney.com.
Is it possible that the surge in eating out, despite inflation, is coming to an end? Darden Restaurants, it's Olive Garden, Longhorn, Ruth's Chris, Capital Grille, has posted its first decline in sales since the pandemic eased. Marketplace's Kristen Schwab has more.
The first thing consumers usually do when they're trying to spend less money on eating out is pull back on indulgences. Steven Zagor is a business professor at Columbia.
I still want to go out, but maybe when I get to this restaurant, I'm not going to order that appetizer, or I might not get desserts.
Have a sit-down dining experience for less. The next shift people tend to make is when they eat. They prioritize happy hour, lunch, or brunch. And finally, when things start to feel too tight to justify tipping, they trade down to fast food. Zagor says that puts sit-down restaurants like the Olive Garden in a tough spot.
Yeah, they're kind of caught in the squeeze.
They aren't the kind of places that usually lure in higher income customers who are more padded to deal with inflation. Meanwhile, Kevin Schimpf at Technomic, a restaurant research firm, says casual chains aren't the most affordable option for lower income households.
I actually think that there's a pretty big overlap between the standard, quick service consumer and the standard Olive Garden consumer.
Schimpf says for many people, the Olive Garden has become less of a habit and more of a treat. And it's not necessarily the kind of treat consumers are looking for right now. If they're going to go out, they might go big.
They can go down and they can get a steak or something that makes it feel like they're getting a lot for their money.
Big picture, Schimpf thinks this dip in dining is a temporary blip. Sean Dunlop, a senior equity analyst at Morningstar, says that's important for these sit-down restaurants to keep in mind. Many competitors are hawking dollaritas, endless shrimp, and prices that nearly match fast food.
The reaction from a lot of brands has been, hey, let's increase sales at basically any cost.
He says those brands will have trouble getting rid of those deals down the line. But for pasta, people will probably pay full price. I'm Kristen Schwab for Marketplace.
Our producers are Elizabeth Hodson, Naomi Rainey, Nick Perez, Ariana Rosas, Alex Schroeder, and Erica Soderstrom. Our senior producer is Meredith Gerritsen-Morby. In New York, I'm David Brancaccio. It's the Marketplace Morning Report. From APM, American Public Media.